Let's take a little look at what you'll be doing by the end of this section. So we're going to be using the landscape tool. We're going to build a composite tank with a moving barrel and turret like this. We're going to have explosion effects. We're going to have UI health bars. We're going to have projectile calculations as well. I don't know if you noticed, but as my cursor moves around, it goes from to green to say, yes, if you were to fire now, you will hit the enemy. So we've got projectile calculations. We've got particle effects with regards to the smoke trails. A bit of landscaping. We're going to be showing you tricks to make a low poly landscape effect using a kind of shader trick. And that's just the outside of the game. If we then look at things like the tank, then as I say, that's put together from multiple parts. We'll be using sockets to explain how to do that. We'll be using spring arms and all sorts of cool stuff. So that's the kind of rough overview of the game. It's just going to be an enclosed landscape like this, undulating landscape with AI tanks and AI mortars, which are going to be shooting at us, and we have to get our revenge by shooting back at them. Simple stuff, but a big step forward in your use of Unreal. If we take a look at the code, then else we'll just look through the header files. Quite a good way of getting to some idea of what our code is going to do. So if we just look at the public parts of our header files, then the tank is going to be able to take damage and return how much health it has and delegate its death to something else, which we'll handle elsewhere. Projectiles do simple stuff like get launched. The tank AI controller will control the AI tanks. The tank aiming component is all to do with aiming and how that works. So it's about aiming at a particular place in the world, for example, and then firing and returning a firing state so that can drive things like the UI, that little dot, that little cursor there, and find out how many rounds we've got left and that sort of thing. We're going to have a barrel which you can simply elevate at some relative speed. And we're going to have tank movement component that you do things like intend that you want the tank to move forward or turn right or conversely left, and all we're going to provide the movement component with is a control throw. And the reason for that is we're going to be very careful about what we allow our AI to do. We're actually going to kind of rip Unreal's AI system apart a little bit. If you were to just let the AI drive those NPC tanks for you without doing anything clever, then they would just drive in a really non-physical way. So what we've done is said, no, whatever the player does with their controller in terms of controlling the aiming, this is, say, the aiming, for example, but the same thing happens with movement, then the AI tank must use exactly the same API. They both must talk to the tank in the same way. Now, it may go and delegate that behavior to the aiming component and then maybe even some blueprints involved, but when we get to binding to the actual assets, i.e. when we attach to the barrel and to the turret. But the point is that the AI, the tank AI and the player controller both talk to the same level so that the AI can't do anything the player can't do. And the same applies to the tracks. The AI actually has to try and drive the tracks by independently controlling the speed of the left and right tracks. And that leads to a very equitable and fair game. So by the end of it, you will have a huge amount more knowledge of how Unreal works. We'll have even made a start menu in the game for you. So lots and lots of new stuff. There's going to be a user interface here for, as I say, for start menus and stuff like that. I'll show you this main menu just briefly, and then we will let you get on and see how to make it. So here you go. Here's a simple menu with hover over effects, a background image. You start the game. So much more like kind of real game stuff for you. So I look forward to seeing you in there.